It is 10:10 here on the East Coast. Welcome to another episode.
10:10 here on the East
There,
Coast. Welcome to another episode. 10:10 here on the East Coast.
I forgot to mute myself. That was the thing I forgot. Hello and welcome to Twitchline. Now you're not getting any extra audio. I'm your I am your caster Hodo. It is your home for relationship advice here on Twitch. Joined as always with my best friend, Mr. Acorn. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, man. Just hold on a second. Yeah, pretty good. We just took a walk out to take in the nice evening air. It's finally cooled down. Was it 95 degrees yesterday or something in October?
That is correct. It is then going to drop 10 degrees a day from the day that it was 95. So by the weekend, they said it was 67 degrees.
I would like that. I think October should feel like October.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite ready for December. So hopefully we have a proper autumn. I'm looking forward to some intermediate weather.
Yeah.
And the leaves falling, man. Virginia's a beautiful place once you get into the middle seasons, the spring and autumn.
Yeah, assuming that it just doesn't fall off a cliff like sometimes it does when all of a sudden the beginning of the week was 75 degrees and then at the end it's 35 and you need your coat.
Right.
Those are the worst.
And there's always like just enough snow to be annoying, but not enough snow to close things down and be beautiful.
That is correct. That is also known as horrible snow. Or if the snow is really, really heavy and all it does is take out power lines, but it only snowed 2 inches, so nothing closes. So you're sitting there in your home, cold, no power, no internet, and just unable to do things. It's just horrific. But yes, welcome to Twitchline, everybody. It's just to get some of the socials out of the way. You can always contact us here on Twitch if you want us to talk about something, or send us any articles that you think might be relevant that we can discuss. Contact us here at twitchlinelove@gmail.com. You can always tweet us also at Twitchline. If you also can do the same thing, and you can link articles on the net via Twitter. Also, if you want to watch us on YouTube, we stream directly to YouTube also, so we're both on Twitch and on YouTube at the same time. You can go to YouTube, search Twitchline Love Relationship Advice, and you'll find us there on YouTube. You'll also see our archive of older videos where you can see us talk about any topic in the past, and it's a great way of a repository of looking up some of our old topics there on YouTube. And also, if you want us on the go to SoundCloud, search Twitchline on your iPad, on your mobile device, on your phone, on your laptop, and you can listen to us on SoundCloud. So just to get that out of the way, welcome everybody to Twitchline. It is Freeform Thursday. Man, it's felt like a long, long week, Tim. It is just, I have just had a week, and I am almost glad. I'm glad that it's almost over. My goodness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is it general stress just added up, or has this week thrown a curveball?
It was just a whole bunch of stuff. Work has been work. So there's nothing really you can do about that. Just a lot of projects all due at the same time. For those in the video gaming community, I was also the main host for Owlet Prime Time, hosting a talk show for pregame for the semifinals and the finals of the Owlet Tournament Stage 1. For those who watch Overwatch here on Twitch, I was not casting any of the games in the finals. I was actually doing more hype and pregame shows, as well as doing one of the semifinal games, but that was about it. But all that planning, all the building, just a lot of time-consuming building and editing videos for the show this evening at 8 o'clock. Just a lot of stress, but it's over. I've got one more thing that I have to do on Saturday, which is something called Casting 101 for those who are interested in learning how to cast on Twitch as a play-by-play or a color announcer for a video game. I do that for all of the members of the Owlet community so that people can maybe explore a career in professional broadcasting on the internet. And people seem to like me. So therefore, and they feel like I am a good play-by-play caster, so I would like to pass on my knowledge to people. And Saturday is one of those events. We do it once every 2 weeks, I think. That's the schedule anyways. But usually right now it's actually going to be broken up in between stages so that people can sort of come at their leisure. So there'll be another one next week. But yeah, that is my week. And also, I think my friend Andrea is actually turning 40. The person that you know.
You're not supposed to say that.
Well, she's turning 39. Again.
Yes, there you go.
And that party is on Saturday, which I think you're also invited to.
We got the Evite.
Mm-hmm.
I have to see what the situation is here with my brother's place. I might have already been locked into a painting party. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to have leisure time with the present state of things in his apartment. I'm kind of trying to get it in order as soon as possible so he can move in.
Well, I can completely understand that. That is a big undertaking for you. So I completely get that that is priority, and you need to actually do that. So got to do what you got to do, man. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question though related to that.
Sure.
And this was a conversation that my wife and I were having earlier tonight, and that was like every single party I've ever been to for my friends beyond teenage years, we would get together, have food, drinks, spend time, and there were no gift giving between the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Emily says that that's a guy thing, and that women will buy gifts for each other, and that I don't know. I don't think that there's like a set rule system there. I think that women going to this party on Saturday probably are not going to be bringing physical gifts, right? Or has that sort of gone? Are we sort of too old for gift giving now, or what do you think about all that?
Nobody's too old for gift giving. Hell, I love gifts. I think gifts are great. But the thing about it is that our friend group doesn't really have an obligation for gifts. For example, the birthday today, on Saturday, I mean, one of our friends is having a birthday, but most of our friends have birthdays when we show up. Somebody brings a random bottle of alcohol or something like that, but a lot of the times there's really no obligation to really bring anything unless the invite says, bring like a dish. We're at the point where we're sort of adults to the point where you don't bring gifts, you bring food.
Yeah, but I can remember that 21 years and older. It's been like.
Yeah, well, it's like different strokes, different folks, though. I mean, like the different friend groups, maybe different rules. I know it's like when if I go to a different group of friends, maybe like they have kids, I bring gifts for their kids. That's mostly what I do. So I get invited to like kids' birthdays and stuff like that, and I'm used to the gifts that I bring are like art sets or Crayolas or Legos or something like that. And if the parents are having a birthday, they insist on having no gifts. So it's different for everyone. But I know where Emily's come from when she says that women give gifts, because I've seen it. Women do actually have a tendency to bring gifts for other women. A lot of the time it's because they're based on conversations and like happenings and things. Like, oh, I really like that makeup or that dress or those shoes or whatever, and I saw those, and it's one of those things in which, oh, he's like, I remember she really liked that. This will be a nice surprise. And they do that all the time when not prompted to. So, I mean, I've seen my friend Lee do that. I've seen girls at work do that also. So I don't know if it is a girl thing or something, but I've seen it happen.
Yeah, I know it happens. It just hasn't happened in a while in my circle of friends, so I didn't really consider it.
Yeah, I buy you shit.
Shit.
I don't really buy you very much. Like, we hang out all the time. I mean, all the time. And I don't I don't buy you gifts, do I? I buy you a soda.
No, not. Yeah, I mean, it's things like that. Like every once in a while, someone will be like, the other person, it's time to pay, and we're walking to the counter, and one person will be like, I got you. But
Yeah.
like, that's not really gift giving. That's just like, bro,
Bro
bros being
giving.
bros.
Yeah, yeah. So like Saturday, we went to the cidery, right? I had good fortune. I buy drinks. That's it's one of those things. It's like, oh, you know what? It's the devil's money, so therefore we'll spend it on the devil's drink. It is but it's one of those things. It's like it's money not earned in a way that is on the it's not from a job. It's from leisurely activities, and it should be spent on leisurely things. At least that's my logic when it comes to when I win at cards or things like that, playing dice or something, whatever. So
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I actually am fine with gift giving things, but uh, at the point that it becomes like, I don't like buying gifts for no reason. I think gifts giving should be purposeful, and it should be like, there should be intention. It should be meaningful. A gift should be something that you're saying, this is something that has to do with our relationship, and I think you really like it. Not, oh, a day of the year arrived,
hmm
and that means I have to give you something. I don't have any idea. I'm not inspired, and here is the thing that I picked.
mm So I've got a question for you. When I was in a long distance relationship and I would see my girlfriend, this was in college. I went to go see her every 2 weeks. It was and it was a long drive too. We talked all the time through the internet and phones and stuff like that. But I always had this thing where I would always want to bring her something when I went to go see her. And she kept insisting that it wasn't necessary, but I really, really wanted to. Do you think I should have always brought her something, or should I have not given her anything and just brought myself?
Neither. I don't think you always needed to bring her something. I don't think that you never need to bring her anything. I think that there's probably a happy balance where, again, if you were inspired by something, you saw something that reminded you of her, or you thought of
hmm
her and knew that she really liked something, maybe bring her some sweet or something that she couldn't get down there. Just something thoughtful.
Yeah.
That's totally cool. But the idea that, like, every time you go there, you need to have something, and if you didn't have it, that's like a problem. I
Oh,
think that's
that was me
it's a
meant.
dangerous.
That was something that I always did. I thought it's like, from me, it was like I was visiting and I don't see her like every day. So like I brought her something sometimes like as expensive as like a plush toy, but most of the times what I would do is I would bring flowers. So it was a little old school, but she really liked white roses, for example. So I would bring like a half dozen white roses or something like that I would pick up at the grocery store. And she really liked drying them out and then like taking a bath with like rose petals and stuff like that, because I knew that was something that she really enjoyed. So I felt like it's like I didn't think it was very much effort for me to stop by the Kroger that had a flower section, pick up like half a dozen white roses, and show up at their door with flowers and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's all good, man. You
Yeah.
can be as romantic and thoughtful as you want to be, and if she appreciates that, then excellent. The day that you don't show up with flowers and that's a problem, I think that's where things have gone wrong.
Yeah, well, she was the one who wanted to. She was the one that would say like, "Hey, you didn't have to bring all of this stuff." It was like, you don't have to keep doing this. So it's like she kept saying, it's like, you just can. It's like, it's just important for
Did
you
she
to show up.
feel like she needed to give you presents too?
No,
Like, was there like a reciprocation present?
no, not at all. I actually enjoyed her reaction when I would bring stuff. It sort of made me feel happy, almost as if it was like, oh, like I'm doing it because it makes me feel like nice and comfortable, because I love seeing her reaction. because if I did bring her like the flowers and stuff like that, I knew what she was going to do with them, and she like really enjoyed that gift. I mean, like, it was not something that she ever like asked for or anything like that. It was just something I knew she really liked. So, and then I always liked seeing her reaction for it. So,
Sounds like you guys had a solid dynamic there.
yeah, I thought it was okay. So it was like, it was good while it lasted. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying everything was perfect, but I just mean, at least in this way, you're kind of the way you took care of each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she was also. It was funny because, like, she might have been one of the first few people I ever dated, but it was one of those weird things that, like, when you meet somebody and you just sort of hit it off right away. There was just a whole lot of funny things that was in common with it, and it was something that I don't think I've ever had with any other girl that I dated afterwards. So it was like, she was one of those people that loved fast food, like myself. Enjoyed that. I never dated an anime person ever after her, which I always thought was a little odd. But every other person that I've dated afterwards, I've had to introduce to shows and stuff like that, and some of them liked, some of them didn't. It's like, anime's not for everyone, and like the thing about it is, but like there were so many little things in common that it's hilarious, and it just reminds me of what we were talking about yesterday about that person who was having issues because dating was super hard, and like in this particular instance when I was dating this particular person in college, I was like, oh, like we have a lot of things in common. This is freaking great. This is really easy. So I was like, oh, I wonder if this is actually going to be like what my future is going to be like.
Honestly, I think people underestimate the power of like just being easy with somebody, like just being relaxed and cool with someone.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that like you have to work hard from the beginning, I think it's problematic. I mean, yes, people like to have the chase. They like to feel like they've achieved something, and getting someone who may be out of their league or that just gives them a challenge. But it doesn't have to be uphill the whole time. And if you're trying to match with someone who just doesn't naturally match with you, you're setting yourself up for some possible problems too.
Oh yeah, it's like that. That's the thing. I mean, like the thing about dating is that you can't. You might want a relationship really really bad, and you might feel like, oh my god, I really should date this person or whatever. But it's one of those things in which you gotta set some standards and some boundaries for yourself, because you don't want to be in a relationship with somebody who is a complete opposite of you, and it just does not end up working out. Because it'll just be troubling for both of you, not just you or him or her, depending on what it is that you're trying to do.
Or them.
Or them, yeah. It's like, these things, they have to, in some way, line up. Because if they don't, it's just trouble for everyone, and you don't want that.
Have you, I mean, so I've definitely dated people that it wasn't hard at the beginning, but it also wasn't anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've been on dates where I knew pretty quickly that the chemistry or that connection wasn't right there, and it wasn't like loud. So I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and probably too much. But in all those cases, it was just a matter of time before the realization set in that it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to work because those things were missing. So, I suggest people to try stuff, but at the same time, like, you got to listen to your gut.
I think a lot of people sometimes, I've found recently that either people don't have that gut instinct, or their head supersedes their gut. because they think that their head knows a little better. So going into situations, I think it's weird. I think some people might not trust their natural instinct of this might not be right because like this person has a very steady job, he's very good looking, he has all of the things I'm actually looking for, but I really don't like hanging out with this guy. That's a problem. you know. But he's like, oh, he's got everything I want, and or she's got everything I want. I should really want to be with him or her, and they completely ignore what their internal sort of, you know, internal voice is saying to them, and it's like, you shouldn't do that.
Right. I think that people are, uh, they have these checklists, and they're like, on paper, this is exactly what I'm looking for, or this is the kind of person that I should be
Hmm.
trying to get my hooks in. But the reality is like, and sometimes in a very negative way, people are not attracted to what's best on paper or even what's really good for them.
Hmm.
So you'll get, listening to your gut can get you in a lot of trouble too, because you might be like going after the bad boy, the bad girl, or you might be completely enamored by their look, which really doesn't mean anything in the long term, and ignoring the other things that are more important, like compatibility. So it is always it's always something that you got to keep in kind of active in your mind, because it's easy just to be like impressed by one thing, or to be to ignore signs that tell you that maybe this isn't the right thing, just because they have a really great apartment and you just love hanging out there. Whatever the reason is.
Yeah, yeah, it's the superficial things that usually get people in trouble, and unfortunately, like that's sometimes when either your head or your gut gets you in trouble, and you just have to realize it's like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't, but somebody's got to be able to tell you that, and you've got to trust one way or the other. So it can be problematic. Guys have a third option, which is listening to their libido. And that gets them really into trouble. So that's one that if I think women have a tendency to say, yeah, 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 he did not think straight. And it's like there's a reason for that. So, but yeah, I mean, like that's where that goes, I guess, is with regards to like talking about that. But have there been any situations where your gut got you in trouble recently?
Uh, well, recently I've been married, so no.
No.
But before I was married, let's see, my gut. Trying to go. Well, you knew the girl I was dating before I got married,
Yeah.
and that was when I ignored my gut, and I ignored it time and time again, to the
Mm-hmm.
point where I knew I wasn't in the right situation, but I just kept on because of time invested, and the fact that I thought a that I thought that by putting enough time and energy into it, that it would somehow in the end pay off, and then that I would get what I wanted from the relationship, and so would she. And it just did not work that way. Working harder doesn't always yield the result you're looking for romantically.
It's like, yeah, relationships aren't like making a pie, right? It's like you put all the ingredients together and magically it tastes delicious. Um, it's just not that way, and I think it's one of those things in which it's unfortunate because you feel like that. Oh, I put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of myself into this. Is like this should work, and then when it doesn't, it just is like okay. And but the thing about it is like you had the warning signs. You felt like it was like maybe I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing this. Blah blah blah. But sometimes it's like oh okay, give it one more shot, or let me see if I can, maybe if I fix, or I change this, and things will change, and things like that. So it's it's hard for everybody.
Yep. And no one can tell you. People can say, "Oh, this is not a good idea," but they can't tell you at what time you should move on from something, or you know what I'm saying? Like, no one can be the final voice for you. You have to know for yourself when you're done.
Yep. Yeah, and that's difficult, and I think a lot of people don't have that ability, which is which is why they either depend on friends or are or ask Reddit for advice. Um, like, some of it could be lack of experience, some of it just not knowing what to listen to or hear, which can be very, very difficult, especially if you're being torn between a decision one way or another, especially in a relationship with a person, and it's hard.
Yeah. Um. It's really interesting how people will ignore a very strong voice in their head, and like they just know better, they know what they should be doing with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's hard, some people will stay in a relationship because it's hard to break up. Some people will stay in an abusive relationship because it's hard to imagine life without being somehow connected to that person. And people will know that they shouldn't be having risky sex, and like there are diseases out there, and still
They'll do it
in the heat of
anyway.
the moment they'll just
Mm-hmm.
go do something.
Yep.
So humans are just stupid.
I don't want to get political when you say stupid, but God, our president, what a fucking moron. Holy crap. Like I haven't been following as close what Orange McOrange Face has been doing, but I got linked something today from my boss, and he was like, "Are you effing kidding me?" So, like, for those who are not
This is the Trumper.
Yeah, this is the Trumper. So he has been denying for like 2 weeks, from what I understand. And Tim, you're more into this, so correct me wherever I'm wrong. He's been implicated in a scandal in which he was going to withhold funds to the country of Ukraine, who is basically, at war with Russia, slight war. What are you gonna do? But the United States has been giving them military aid to make sure that that they can handle themselves just in case. And Senor Trump said, "Hey, I want you to investigate Hunter Biden and his father." Because Hunter Biden was on the board of a Ukrainian company that somehow went belly up or something like that, and he ended up getting paid anyway, and blah blah blah, all sorts of other stuff. And he claims that there was no quid pro quo, I guess is the word for it. He's like, you do this for me, I do this for you. That is the Latin term for it. And then he goes on TV today, this morning, and says, yeah, I asked them to look into it. I would hope that they would have done an investigation, which is literally admitting to what you have been denying for 2 weeks.
Yep.
Like,
not just that, calling out also, hey, China, why don't you look into this too?
Yeah.
like, I mean, you can't make this.
You can't. You can't make this S up. It is crazy. The man is either really just out of it, and he could be impeached, or he could be actually like at some point. I'm just wondering when Pence is just going to invoke the 25th Amendment and just say, "Look, you're just out of your mental facilities."
They need to be careful too, because he brought in Pence on some of that stuff too.
Oh yeah, well
They're
that's
looking into it now, but we don't know if he knew what he was doing. But does it matter if you knew that you were robbing a bank if you were part of the bank robbery?
well that's the thing, right? Even the getaway driver gets charged with robbing the bank. He never even went in. So like, so that's what's going on right now. So everybody's in that car, and Trump has pretty much held a gun to the Ukraine, and everybody in that car now is in deep shit.
Well,
So
then there's also Rudy, who
that man's just a
I
moron.
swear this man wants to go to jail.
Yeah,
It's just
I'm the mayor of America.
you don't give these people enough rope, they will make their own rope to hang themselves. They will go out and find the material.
Yeah, it is one of those things. It is crazy, but it is absolutely insane when he does go on TV like that. I mean, like he said that he wanted to sue Congress today. How do you go about doing that? Congress is following the Constitution in impeachment proceedings, and he wants to sue them. So I am not exactly sure what is going on. So so it's like, just all of this stuff is just crazy and insane, and all this stuff. So we don't want to get political on the show a lot of the times, but when insanity is literally down the street because of where we live, it basically permeates into your life, especially where we live. So it's like it's sort of insane.
Yeah, it's hard to get away from it. I'm not loving that part of being back here.
Yeah, it's one of the side effects. It's one of the negative side effects of living where we live. I mean, it's just awful in the sense that it sucks because there's nothing really you could do about it by living where we live. So, like, what can you do? It's like you can try to avoid it and ignore it and sort of just not pay attention to it. But when my own mother is like, that's all she wants to talk about, it's like, okay, great. I was like, okay, what are you gonna do? I was like, every time I come home, my aunt is waiting for me. It's like, did you know what he did? It's like, yeah, I know. It's like, have they thrown him out of office yet? No, they probably won't. So what are you gonna do?
Just wait, buy tickets when it's.
Well, see, that's the thing I'm just wondering about. So, like the proceedings, I like how long do they take? Like the last time we sat through this, it was Bill Clinton, right? Like Clinton was the one getting impeached, and he was getting impeached not because he received a blowjob in the White House, but because he lied about it. So that was the reason for impeachment, and that was like the time when was the question was is oral sex a form of sex? The question to me, yeah. You're getting off on it. So when he was on a deposition and he said, I did not have sex with that woman, that's what they impeached him on. So like a lot of people forget about that because they think they impeached him on him receiving the sexual favors. There's nothing wrong with that. Actually, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that 5 women could be doing it at the same time in the Oval Office. As long as he admits to it, it's completely fine. Might be immoral, but it is completely legit. It's when you're under oath and lie about it, that's when you get in trouble. The thing about Trump is that when he's been lying, he hasn't been lying under oath. He's been lying on television and to people, but not in a capacity where he's lying to like in a deposition or anything like that. So the way that they were going to have to get him is something like this, where they have to catch him where he's basically extorting a country. Isn't that freaking crazy?
Yeah. But, I mean, there was something else. There was something else they said that I think he brought up Biden's name in a June conversation with President Xi, and that call is on the
He's in the confidential server
on that same server.
Yeah.
So like, if they get that server, who knows what kind of stuff they're going to find in there? But I mean, it's obvious. It's just obvious. The dude's a criminal. He's committed crimes. He will try to get away with whatever he can get away with. They haven't been able to get anything on him specifically yet, or he's been basically protected because he's the president. But at some point, he's going to go too far, and then our Constitution and our balances of power will be tested.
The thing about it is how far is too far? I mean, like, everybody has friends that they would do a lot of things for. Like, their best friend, like yourself and me, I would do a lot of things for you as a favor. Like, illegal things? It's like, the thing about it is Donald Trump is the president. He is the head of the Republican Party because he is the president. Like, are people really willing to break laws for somebody that might not even be their friend, but their party leader? And, to me, it just seems really weird. So.
Yes. They will, for party, I mean, it's obvious. Party over country right now.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
happening every single day.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. It's like, that to me just seems...
friendship, I think, is even less, I mean, especially for him, because he doesn't seem to protect his friends beyond the point that, like you're his friend until you do something that gets in his way or bothers him or something like that, and then you are under the bus. He can't get you there fast enough.
Exactly. I mean, the vice president's a perfect example of that. Like, he's got him, he's basically implicating him on all of this stuff. And it's just like, wait, what? He's here to protect you. It's like, you're throwing him under the bus. Are you doing this specifically to protect your own ass? It's like, that's pretty terrible. So it's like, and like, this is a guy that has a history of not paying contractors that work on the buildings that he builds.
Oh, and lying about charitable donations. I mean, like, literally could go on for an hour about all the things that he does that's shady. And yet he still has whatever percentage of the population of America that believe he can do no wrong. And that, to me, says we need to work on our education system here.
Well, it's a cult of personality, right? Some of it is that. It's like a lot of it is these people are stupid. But the thing about it is like, there were people who hated Obama for irrational reasons. And I never understood it either. These are the same people, though, that love Trump for those same irrational reasons. So it's like, you're never going to change these people's mind. At least, I don't think so. So it's like, he's got those guys. They're completely in his pocket. So you don't really, for him, it doesn't matter what he does. These people will never leave him. I mean, a lot of them are in the religious community, which even more makes no sense to me. Like the evangelicals and the Western religious supposedly give him like an 87% approval rating, which makes me question. It's like it can't be religion that's dictating it, because the man himself is pretty much like, spits in the face of religion with all he believes. So it's like, what is it that they're actually supporting? Like,
it's anti-abortion.
Yeah, that's essentially all it is. Yeah.
They really don't care if he is a man of God, as long as he gets that done.
Mm-hmm. So does that mean that if somebody believed in liberal beliefs, even if wages, all this other stuff, but he just happens to be anti-abortion, um, would these same people be like, okay? And it would be like counter to all the other Republican beliefs. But there were a lot of Democrats like that in the 80s, for example. When it came to the abortion debate. The abortion debate boils down to a woman's right to choose in the eyes of a lot of liberals. But there were a lot of Democrats at the time in the early 80s who really weren't looking at it like it was a right to choose, but they more looked at it on the life perspective, which is the way the evangelicals look. It's a life. You can't kill a life. So therefore you can't be pro-abortion. There's no way you should be. But what if you are a lifelong liberal, and you believe in liberal things, but you are anti-abortion, would that make you like one of them? I don't know. To me, it just is weird. Like I would want to see what if any like that would ever happen, because it's like if there was ever a Republican to come out against abortion and lived in all these things and lived in Utah, and it's like, oh, I believe in this, I believe in that. And it's like, oh, this is great, but I'm just not all about abortion. I just don't think it should be in society. But I believe in everything else that was Democrat. It's like, would he be able to flip these people? Because in a lot of cases, these same people vote against their own interests when they support a Republican who is anti-abortion, because everything else that he supports really does not in any way help the communities where these people are from, which to me is super weird. So,
right. Well, that's the whole one. When you're voting for a person, or you supporting a person for a single thing,
mm-hmm.
This is what you get. This kind of thinking, the rationale that this man is one of the most godless people. You could not, to save his life, recite a line from the Bible, and yet he's being put up on a pedestal as though he were the next coming.
Yeah,
it is offensive in a way that makes me unable to look at an evangelical and think that they have any place to be speaking about anything. If you can support that man and what he does and ignore all the crap that he does, everything, all of his ideas are anti-God, anti-Jesus. But whatever.
I mean, the thing about it is like you could talk about this stuff forever. It's just like, political debates is not necessarily what we're all about, but it's one of those weird things in which, in this particular situation, it is so unusual. I mean, like, people say that they'll be making television shows of this for years to come, like of the situation that we live in, because it is so unusual and so crazy that it is almost to the point where it's unbelievable, yet it is actually happening. And it's like, what is it, stranger than fiction? Isn't that the term? That it's stranger than fiction, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's like how you describe it.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, like I said, can't make it up. Probably wouldn't want to. There will be movies. There will be, there will be books after book after book after book. And one day, people will look back at this and
What's that? You cut out.
Oh, just that someday in the future, people will look back at this period as a very shameful, sad part of American history.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What will be really interesting to see is what kind of things are going to happen that might not have happened as a result of this time period. Like, is this going to cause a backlash in a way that like jumps the liberal side and like in what they've been trying to do, if that pushes that agenda forward in a way that it wouldn't have before?
Could be. I mean, the repercussions of what has been going on um, could last for years upon years. So it's,
Well,
that's
we know that with the tax break and stuff like that for corporations, it definitely will.
yeah.
And what's happening, bloating the budget and all that, the amount of money America owes, like our deficit, it is. We are in trouble.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing about it is that's partially on the Democrats too. Like if they get into power and they control all three houses or all two houses, they can repeal those taxes. They can say to people, it's like, nope, we passed a law. These taxes are no longer null and void. Good luck. But they also don't, I think, have the courage to do so because the people that uh, have received the benefits of these taxes will use the money to whoever's in power to make sure that they keep those tax breaks, and those donations go to those same senators who just got voted in, or are the opposition now. But now, because they're in power, they're also more likely to get bribed, which is terrible. So,
Well, Warren, I don't know what her deal is, and we're actually turning this whole Freeform Thursday into like a political discussion here.
yeah.
But we can take a different direction soon if we want to. But Warren is talking about, you know, making it so that there are limits on who can become a lobbyist after serving for the government, and how much money can be donated to different campaigns. Like I think she's looking at all that. So hopefully there's more thinking like that. Get money out of politics.
The problem is the thing about it is you have to have one courageous person, right? Like there has to be a person who has to be willing to say, like, enough is enough, and they are going to be the person that ends up taking it in the shorts for the better of everybody else. Yet, they might not be the recipient of all the goodwill. It's like politicians a lot of the times are in it for themselves, and a lot of them are unwilling to be the martyr, quote, to be the person that, like, gives in, or the sacrifices so that the rest of the people can do good, because they are used to getting all the good shit. It's like the reason I felt really sad when I heard that Bernie went in for a stint operation, because his presidential campaign is pretty much over, because nobody's going to vote for a potential president with heart problems. They're just not. So, like, whatever it is like he was one of the few people in this election that I think really truly cared about people and would be willing to basically sacrifice future monies or whatever that he could earn to make sure that the rest of the people going forward, like, would be better off because of it. And it just makes me really sad that he's not going to have a chance to do it. So, like, so my new, I'm pegging my hopes on Elizabeth Warren, but you got to remember, in previous life, Elizabeth Warren was a corporate Republican before she became who she became. So it's like, she threw all that out because she had, like, this realization that, like, all of this shit is corrupt and it needs to be fixed. But,
well, I don't know. I mean, I have in her age, the Republicans actually had decency. I mean,
yeah.
They were not necessarily like, for the common man.
Yeah.
But much more so than now. So if she's, old school Republican, that's still way better than shit. That's like moderate Democrat now.
Yeah, that is sort of right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like the country has always been relatively conservative, right? Like it's been just one of those things. So
Well, some of it, but um, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the country's going to look like in the next few years.
it's just
But
it's going to be an unusual place. I think that's the thing. It's we live in a society now that we cannot in any way predict what will happen going forward. It can be exciting, or you can look at it like it's ridiculously scary. Either way, we're not going to know like what we're going to see in the next 10 years. So it's you're living through history essentially. So it's like it's an interesting time. Like there's that term. What is it like? Too late to explore the world. Too early to explore the universe. You know, but not late enough to go through one of the weirdest political scandals in history. So
yeah, well, if if telling stories of hardship somehow made me feel good, I'd say bring it on. But my world, I'd rather have a boring life and not have to deal with this.
I think what I think a lot of people would too. The thing about it is like in old days when peasants would have to live through the wars that the rich would go through. All of those people really all they wanted to do was just be left alone. Like they had to suffer through the armies marching through their lands, giving up their food for soldiers who they had no idea who they were, and doing all this stuff. It's like you're almost like in the same position. Like now, it's like the middle class is getting trampled on like crazy because of rich people deciding, this is what the world should be doing. Wars, starving the starving the poor, whatever, not giving them any money, consolidating all the wealth. It's just there is this belief that the that the upper 1% are at the heart of pretty much everybody's problems. so so that if it wasn't for them, making it terrible for everyone, then maybe we would be in a better place.
Well, that's the best way to keep power is to keep people poor, hungry, afraid, and pointing at their neighbor that's a little bit different than them so that they will target their anger towards them while they run away with everything.
Well, what is it? Well, my company just started. We have a. My company just started. We have a new infomercial that features George Carlin, comedian from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Very, very funny comedian. And he said that there are three classes in the world, and there are reasons why they exist. The first is the rich, to basically get everything. They are your 1%ers. They're the ones who control a majority of the wealth and control what people think and do. There is the middle class, who pays for everything, even the rich. And then there are the poor, who are there to scare the bejesus out of the middle class into thinking at any moment I could end up like this, which is so fucking true. Because if you're in the middle class, you're just happy to be there a lot of the times, and you don't want to end up homeless on the street because it's a scary thought. You have a home, you have a thing. It's like I was like, oh my god, it's like I could end up homeless, and but then the rich never have that problem and never really think about it. And but they make laws up to keep people poor, to keep the middle class in line, so that they keep paying for everything. It's genius.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it, and I feel bad about it.
It's a hard it's a hard realization, and it's just terrible when you really do think about it. But It is what it is. Man, we have gotten depressing today. What the hell is going on?
Is there something happy you'd like to talk about?
Something happy. The thing that made me happy before we got on was the fact that you and I are of the same level in Classic WoW. That made me happy. So therefore,
Yes.
we can basically start instituting our ganking plan and gank people at our level.
Yes.
Yes, that'll be nice.
I noticed that you went to a dungeon and I didn't, so I am upset and hurt by that.
Well, I did this because the reason. Ooh, I just got myself a two-handed blue. It is one of those things in which I really don't have any quests here, but they do have good weapon drops that I want. What I really need to do is Scarlet Monastery Armory, because I need to kill Herod, which I actually already did, but didn't have the quest when I did it, because I am dumb.
Is that the right one? That's Armory, isn't it?
Is that Armory? It's whatever it is.
I need Armory.
Yeah.
You need Armory.
I need Armory.
We should go to Armory.
We should go to Armory. So, for anyone watching us, if you want to go to Armory, hey, DM us. We'll carry you.
True. Even if you're higher level, we will carry you.
We will carry you. We play. Pub groups are filled with morons. And this is the final topic I want to talk about, because I don't understand. It's like I guess these are the same people that are voting in elections, because I just don't understand how it is so difficult to follow instructions in a raid in a MMO dungeon. It's like, what is going on if you just don't know to, simple mechanics, follow instructions, don't stand there. How hard is that? What is wrong with people?
Anytime I have to talk about humans, the way they behave, the things that are amazing, the things that are annoying, I always go back to the bell curve. Put enough people together and you will have standard deviations, and you'll have most people clumping in the middle as average. Then you will have exceptional outliers, and my God, just crawl back under the rock type. And you see the same thing in games too.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? It's like the thing about it is, you want to be nice, especially to your guildies. But if your guildies are morons, it's like, what do you do? It's like,
Did that happen to you?
No, but I've seen it happen too many times. I spend sometimes early on this week, I was getting on really late, just doing auction house stuff and grinding for 30 minutes or so I can at least keep up on the money side, because I want a horse when I turn 40. But you just hear these ridiculous horror stories as like, man, this group that I did this with, it was just freaking terrible. And it's like, how is that possible? So, was that the orange? Okay. It's like,
how much gold do you have now?
30. Not even close to being enough.
Nope, and you only got 2 levels to go.
Yep. So I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, that's I mean, I can always run around and form, but
farming spots aren't necessarily the greatest right now either. So it's like there's the market is sort of broken. So because there's really nothing good to farm.
Yeah, it's just early, so they haven't really, no one has tons of money yet to do stuff with. But that being said, you can nickel and dime your way up if you need to.
Yeah, and that's what I've been doing with like leatherworking and stuff. So
So I was just doing a quest here, killing a bunch of murlocs in the area, and these mages came through and started AoE farming, and that's annoying. And they were in their area, and I was in my area, so I was like, okay, well, you guys stay over there, I'll stay here. They came through and blew up my stuff and looted the Zealot Blade, level 29 twink blue sword,
yeah,
that will sell for quite a bit of money. And that would have been my mob to kill, that would have been my sword, but they decided to be AoE assholes. And I won't cry about it, but I am complaining about it to the internet right here.
I am cool. Oh.
Oh, well.
Yep, and oh god, complaining to the internet is one of the great things that you can do. The internet will talk back sometimes, but a lot of times, the internet will just listen and be there for you when things go wrong. They will also make fun of you and turn you into a giant meme when things go wrong.
You know what? I kind of would welcome, just a little more interaction on our channel here. And even if it's people that are trying to have a little fun,
Hmm.
just be good to have some back and forth.
Oh, I know. And the thing about it is Twitch is weird about stuff like that. Sometimes the weirdest people get the most attention. So there was this guy. One of them was a really interesting one. There's an old guy. All he wanted to do was just talk to people. So he started a blog on Twitch, literally just getting on there, and some random person found him and linked his stream to people. It was like a lonely older guy, and I think he was in his 60s. I think he's an older guy. He was trying to play games, and I think his grandson set up his Twitch stream. It blew up. Guy gets an average of 1,000 viewers a night. And he's like an old guy who doesn't understand how to play games, really. So, it is interesting to see who ends up watching what. And, sometimes it's about being interesting, and sometimes it is about being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Well, I guess it helps if you have a message or if you have, I mean, here we are. This is Thursday night, so we're just sort of talking about whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
on the nights when we talk about relationship advice, like that will definitely appeal to a lot of people that are looking for fixing their love lives.
Yep.
Or at least just listening to other people's drama get talked about. But
Well, that's the part I like Wednesdays, because listening to the drama and to seeing how, like, what is this person going through? It's like that sucks for them, but man, let's fix you. Let's figure out like how to make sure that you get over this relatively better than everybody else. It's like help out with what's going on here a little bit. That's why I find it very interesting. So.
well, hopefully before too long, we'll get together for our Sunday deep dive. We haven't been able to do those in a bit.
Yeah, we've been very bad
like,
about that, and those are really good. So for those, if anybody listening, on Sundays we do a focus show where we focus and go in depth into a topic. We haven't done one in it's close to a month now, has it been? So it's something like that, right? So
it's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah, and but it's one of those times in which I find them super enjoyable, because even I learn things about topics as we go in depth about something and trying to figure out like either a root cause or generalities about what causes maladies or issues or something like that. So very much so, like you should tune into that if you are interested. So, but yeah, I mean, the thing about it is also like Freeform Thursday is just one of those things in which I find this great, and I was telling you before, I find this great practice when it comes to learning how to speak freely online and being able to sort of project what you're thinking and what you're doing into an audience and having to give yourself like a bit of a voice, a way to communicate and have that sort of radio feel in a conversation, because I go through these casting sessions all the time, and it's just one of those things when I'm teaching people how to cast or anything like that. The first question they usually ask is like, how could you be so natural in the way that you talk? And it's like, you just take that whole idea, that whole nervousness idea of thinking that you have to think about everything that you say. Sometimes just let it rip and just see if, if your thoughts are communicated in a way that is fantastic and people will enjoy it. So I was doing a talk show today, and there was a comment on the talk show that said, it's like, man, Hodo is such a natural. I love him. He's great. And it's like, I was like, oh, that's cool. So I was like, oh, that's nice to hear. So I was like, oh, okay. That was really nice of him to say. And then I went and messed up a name. As soon as he said that, I messed up who was fighting who. So it was like, oh, ruined it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you get the spotlight on you, and then suddenly you start stumbling.
Yeah. So it's just interesting that way. So, but yeah. So it was like, I find this whole aspect of casting just fun. It was funny. Like your dad, when you heard you were doing this, really was like, oh, really? Here's a mic, here's some cables, headphones. Your dad's always been an audiophile and has always had this fascination with talking to people on ham radio. I just think your dad was born a little too early. I think if your dad understood what Twitch was, I think your dad would just love it. I mean, I don't know if he would be big into the camera and stuff.
Well, I mean, the topic area and stuff like that is not exactly what he'd be into, but he is the kind of person that does enjoy talking for quite a long time on the same radio. He can go for hours and hours and hours, and this isn't that much different. It's sort of funny because he tried me to get to do ham radio for so long, and I wasn't into it. And then here I am doing Twitch, and it's practically the same thing.
It is, it is, and I think that's why your dad, in a way, is so happy that you're doing this, because it's like he finds a friend sharing his hobby, and his friend is his son. It's like, oh. But the thing about it is, Tim, is like you've always been into IRC, for example. Like, essentially, it's the same thing. Relay chat, you're talking to people. Ham radio, you're talking to people.
Yep, I like talking, I like chatting. I'm actually a very social person. My wife pointed out earlier today, as we got in the elevator, went downstairs, she's like, you talk to everybody, don't you? And you know everyone here. And I'm like, yeah, I just, yeah, I go talk to people. Yeah. I like them. I'm friendly, and if people have something to say, I'm ready to listen. So yeah. See, that's a big part of it.
Talking to somebody, I have no qualms. Somebody comes in an elevator and starts talking. And it's like, some people really hate that. They really hate the unnecessary jibber jabber that goes through. I think it's fine.
Hey, my wife does not like that. She could be living here and not ever talk to anyone. and be totally fine with it. And that's sort of like a bigger city mentality, I guess. But
Well, it's a very
you know
European
what?
mentality. The Europeans never understand why, as a group of people, we, as Americans, for example, uh, talk to everyone. They find it odd. For example, like the only time that they are okay with it is when they are at a pub. So like talking in a pub and just like having fun with drinks and stuff like that. That's when they're completely okay with it. But randomly talking to somebody in an elevator or like commenting on like, oh, you should really get this particular thing versus that particular thing if you're at a store or something like that. I don't get it. It's like, why would you help that person? It's like, because they need help. It's like, it's like he doesn't know the type of drill to get or what type of bit to go with that drill. It's like, you want to interject. It's like, oh, I do this for a living. This is what you should get. Oh, thank you very much. It's like, I was explaining it to my English friend. He's like, yeah. It's like, I don't understand you Americans. You could just talk to anyone. It's like, yeah, we can. And it's great. It's like, it's amazing the things that you learn when you talk to people. It's like, and sometimes it's just you do it because you just don't want to be in silence, and people would just use it to escape what it is they feel like a little unnerved in an environment that is just quiet. We are loud people. We like being around other loud people.
I don't like loud people. So I don't think I'm that American.
Yeah, you're not that American, but you are. You
Well,
have
you
the
know,
the American niceness, which
I guess so.
yeah, I think so.
The thing for me is I've always been someone who prefers conversation, intellectual stimulation, sharing emotions, sharing experience. I've always been that way as long as I can remember. And while it is not necessarily a traditionally male thing to do, to talk about your feelings and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing, that never seemed to bother me. I'm good with it. And being a good listener means that people will talk to you, and makes them more willing to listen. So I just found that it really helps in making connections with other people, and that's what I value most in the world. So that's probably why I end up as a teacher. It's probably why I talk to strangers a lot, and it's probably why when I'm with my friends, instead of going out and doing something that like occupies time, I'm very happy to sit across from them and talk to them, share food and whatever, but just like talk for hours and hours and hours. And that's what we did back in the day when we were all in college.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were going down to the bars and stuff like that. And we just have our drinks at home, and a whole bunch of us just be sitting on the furniture, on the floor, in the kitchen, countertop, floor, basically any surface, and talk deep into the night and joke around, laugh, and just share stories and stuff. That's one of my happy memories of the younger years.
Well, we used to sit around and just talk all the time. That was one of the things that I always found fun. It was also one of the things I think a lot of people found a little unusual, that we were very comfortable just shooting the shit, as they say, because there were, how many times was it that after a night of debauchery, going out having fun, the rest of the night was spent sitting on a stoop, just talking to everybody else that was there, and just sort of hanging out and chilling, either be it in the backyard, like at my friend Mac's place, or which I don't think you went over very often, but or like I think I distinctly remember just sort of sitting in sitting like right in front of our apartment, like on Sunrise, for example, or at Foxridge, and just sort of just chilling out, and just sitting there talking, and like it'd be like a night in Blacksburg where it was like 45 degrees or something like that, and you'd have a coat, but it was we were just comfortable, just sort of just sitting there, just talking about anything that came up. Shay's love life. or whatever.
Always a crowd pleaser.
Always a crowd pleaser, indeed. It's like, all sorts of other stuff. Those were fun. So
Yeah, um, that's one of the things that is harder about getting older is the people that you're friends with in college and all that. They get busy with stuff. They go out and they have kids and they get married and they move, and those group hangouts are less and less often, and it's more and more about
mm-hmm.
catching up and reliving the memories of it when you are together. Then sometimes you're not even making the new memories because you're just sort of like reliving the good old days in your head.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's what was it? One of my friend's husbands. I'm not going to say who. Said
who.
Yeah, who. Say that one person would always keep saying the same stories over and over again, and he felt like he knew us like intimately forever, just because he knew all of the stories by heart, because they would be referenced all the time, and it was in a way I thought it was really funny because like he would know the references that we would be talking about, and he wasn't even there. So
yeah, I can see that being like good in a way because then you can feel connected to people. But it's also bad because you're hearing the same stories over and over again.
Over and over again.
If
yeah.
you weren't there and you didn't think it was that great or that funny, then you just got that in your ear all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
so
whatever, we connect how we connect. Some people like to share their stories. Some people like to talk about themselves. Some people like to, I personally enjoy going over the old ridiculous things we used to do.
Oh, I love it.
But I know that my wife is like, she's convinced that I was only sober for 30 minutes of college. And I didn't drink that much. It's just when we did drink, that was when the craziest stuff happened.
Yeah, I mean, like that was the thing, right? It was like that. The alcohol would encourage certain types of behavior, but it really didn't. It didn't happen all the time. We wouldn't actually be 100% drunk or something like that. That was one of those things in which it was a bit of a fallacy that like it was that all the time. It wasn't, but at the same time, we did a lot of crazy things. It's not like we didn't.
No, I admit the stuff that I did. I just that if you knew me and you were like, oh, every single story you tell from college when you're drunk, like that's not really representative of my college time. So, you want to wrap it up here and
yeah, I think we should
call it a night?
Yeah, I think we should. I think
these Thursday things don't, they're sort of whatever. They start when they start and they stop when they stop. But
I think it is time to end the series. We've been going for a good minute, hour 20. Actually, just talking about random stuff. This is why I love Freeform Thursdays. Is just because we speak about what's on our mind. There was that little, that had to have been at least 30 minutes on El Presidente.
It's on the menu. People they're talking about it, they're thinking about it, and you can't help but have it in your, thrown in your face. So
yeah, it is true.
I brought it up.
But
and if people out there are not happy with it, there are plenty of other people to listen to on the IRL. So go.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are, quote, just chatting.
Yeah.
So
and we'll be here when you're ready to talk about that.
So on that note, thank you very much for joining us as always here on Twitchline. Let us take care of the socials again so that you remember. You can always email us at our email address, twitchlinelove@gmail.com. You can also tweet us what you think of the show. Let us know what you think. At Twitchline is the Twitter handle. visit us on YouTube when you want to see any of our older shows, or comment or look up some of the things we reference. Just search Twitch Line Relationship Help and Advice on YouTube, and we'll be there. You can see all of our older shows. And if you want to take us on the go, please go to SoundCloud. We are available on SoundCloud, and you can listen to us on the go. But for Mr. Acorn, I am Hodo. Thanks so much for joining us today. And hopefully you found this conversation enlightening. And join us, hopefully, on Sunday, when we will have a Focus Sunday segment that we hope will be super interesting and actually fun to listen to. But until then, have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.